What's up, AW fam? We're back here working on our test box. So just to give you a little update here, I went ahead throughout the week and cut out some holes in here. I had a little spare time, so I figured let's do a little work on this and see where we end up. So we got some holes cut right here. This is where the head unit, control unit, and EQs are going to be going. Right in here, and I put a little filler in here which we'll sand off. This will be where our voltmeter and temperature meter and everything will be housed right here. This little switch here, this will be for A and B speakers. So what I'm going to be able to do is switch the speakers from these two to speaker output terminals so I can hook up speakers and test speakers, make sure that they're working. So we're going to put another switch over here for that, and I'm kind of running out of real estate on the front panel for how I want to lay this out. So I'm going to be working on the sides of the box, and we'll get to that here in a little bit, and mounting those speaker output terminals from the AB switch, and also the RCA connectors. We'll put a main power switch on the back of the box just so I could turn it off, like if I'm just testing an amp and that's hooked up to the power supply distribution, just to make sure the amp turns on and off. I really, I won't need to use this box per se unless I'm testing, output and sound and things like that out of that amp. So this will also help too when you're setting up systems, tuning your amplifiers. So if you're working on some cars and let's say, there's some specific specs and whatnot that the customer wants, or that you want to set that car to, you could grab the amplifiers that are going in that install, put them on the test bench, hook this thing up, run some test tones through it, and then sit there and tweak your amplifiers to whatever crossover points you may want or gain level settings you may want before you install it. So that way when you do install it, everything's set and you just hook up your wire and go with it. So that's what we're looking at doing with this. So we'll do this, we'll finish up the face right here, and then we'll do a little bit to the sides and the top. I am going to put a fan in this box. I don't anticipate needing a fan, but just in case it does get hot, this gauge is going to go right here. We'll have a temperature sensor which I'm going to run and attach to the top of the box, and that will give me the inside temp of the box. But just in case, we're putting a fan on the top to make sure that we stay cool and we get some airflow through the box in case there's some kind of extended play or testing session or whatnot. So I was watching some videos this week. I saw that Parker the bass head got a really nice test setup from Def Bonds. I mean, looks beautiful, really well made. So, big ups on him and his relationships with Def Bonds. I do like their product. I run Def Bonds in one of my vehicles, and I can't knock it, man. It's been great. I've ran it for 3 years daily, and not an issue, not a problem. Sounds great. So big ups for him and his sponsors for getting that done. But this is more of a kind of a DIY, or DIY, I should say, DIY, do it yourself, right? Build for those that may just say, hey, you know what? I need something that works, and this is going to work for you. So let's follow along. I'm going to drill this hole over here real quick, get that done, and then from there we'll kind of move on to the sides and get things placed out on that and the top for the fan. So here it is. Let's go. Too easy. Done with that. So we just grab, do I have a switch here? I do. So here's the switches I'm going to be using for the AB. So it's a four-prong switch. So it'll be, these speakers on, flick it, and then it'll switch to the outputs that we're going to put on the side for the testing, for the test outputs. And just to kind of give you a little look-see of what this will look like once it's assembled. Throw that in. And this weekend we're going to have this finished up and get the paint on there. So here's what it's going to look like once everything is in. So this will be the front, the Illusion audio speakers. Got all my PPI gear up here from the Team Gates Mustang. And I got my meter right there, and the two switches will be up there by the speakers to change those outputs. So then what I'm going to do next is we're going to work on the sides and top of the box, get that done. We'll get everything ready, we'll paint it this weekend, and then after that we'll do the finishing video where we get everything hooked up, wired up, show you exactly how that's going to go down, what I'm using for power, and go over the entire layout of the test bench and solder station area and everything like that you would need to troubleshoot and fix, and you know, just have a nice place to check out your equipment and make sure everything's working properly, set gains. If you need to build electronics, which I do sometimes, you'll have a nice little cozy place to work on everything. So let's get into it. Here we go. So here's the actual cabinet. Right here, I've pretty much marked out the center. This is where I'm going to cut a hole for the fan. So I'm going to go ahead, put this fan on here, mark it, trace it out, and then cut a hole just slightly smaller than the mounting holes, because this will actually sit inside. And then there's a little grill that I'm going to mount with screws that go down, and that will bolt that all together and make it look nice. So let's go ahead and mark that out, and we'll go from there. I'll drill a little hole through here so I can get my jigsaw started, and then we'll cut this out. Doesn't have to be exact. I'm not looking for 100% perfection on this. Just enough to make it work. And we'll go from there. So I'm going to rough cut it. You know, I'm not measuring this out. I'm not looking for exact lines. It'll be as good as it's going to get. Top for the fan. So that'll be nice, that'll mount. So I can just hold this in place real quick and show you guys. It'll mount in there just like that, and that'll be on there with a grill on the top of it. So that'll work, that'll be nice. Get some cooling in here. So now we're going to work on the sides. So what I'm thinking here, I have a little template for my speakers. So I'm thinking about doing the speakers here, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I've got some RCAs right here, you know, and then we'll put our couple sets of RCAs there. So let's go ahead and mark some of this out on the side of the box. We'll get it traced out, and this stuff is going to be fairly easy because all I have to really do here is drill holes. So it's not going to be too complicated at all. So I'm just going to snap a line, just kind of halfway right there, looks like is good. We'll do a center line right there. Yeah, that's going to work out perfect. So I got my center line right here, guys. Oop. So I'm just going to kind of line these up, trace these out back to back to back to back to back down there, and then that will be my speaker inputs. Or I'm sorry, speaker outputs for testing. The beauty of these is once I get them traced, is that all I need to do is just drill holes in the back. I don't have to actually cut out the square or anything like that. And I can run them pretty much, you know, back to back with very little space in between them, which will make it easy. And then I'll have some, you know, wiggle room to adjust them or line them up if I want to make it a little more perfect looking. That lays out pretty much, that's perfect. Lays out really nice. And that'll go almost right to the end. Just enough spacing across the bottom. So that's perfect. Snap those holes. Perfect. Done. So there it is, all laid out, if you could see that here. So that'll be my speaker outputs for testing. And I think what I'm going to do is right above that, I'm going to snap another line up here. And that will be for my RCA output. Then we'll need, I'm just gonna pop some holes, guys. I'm just gonna make some marks here in between kind of the two center speaker outputs for the RCAs. It's gonna be one set. Cool, then I can adjust those out if I need to once I start drilling, which I'm going to do right now. There it is, we'll drop some holes in here for our speaker connect. Not worried about the size. I'm not worried about, you know, the airspace or anything in this cabinet. That's not what it's for. So even if these holes I'm doing now aren't in the exact space, I'll just cut them or make them or file them so that they are. Not a big deal. But they're big enough, I think I'll have enough wiggle room where I'm placing them to make that happen. So that's what we're looking at there, fellas, ladies and gentlemen. Got a few little nails here that I need to trim up. So here we go down here. These are for our speaker outputs for the test bench. Front, rear, sub RCA outs from the head unit for testing to hook into an amplifier. So next what I'm going to do here on the back, since I am putting a fan on top, I definitely need something to pull some air through. So I'm going to go ahead and drill some holes down here. Think of like an old hi-fi stereo cabinet. I'm going to drill some holes here so that the fan can, suck some air through on that side. So we'll hit that next. Again, nothing fancy, nothing crazy. I'm just gonna lay it out, snap a little line. I'll probably do 2 rows. I'm going to say 2 rows maybe of just some randomly placed holes in the back to pull air through. So not too worried at all about what that's going to look like or anything like that. So it'll be enough. It'll be enough to get it going, to get it working, and get some airflow through there. So I'm not going to do a push-pull, so I'm not going to put a fan down here to pull air through. I think that's going to be kind of a waste of a fan. There's enough airflow in this garage anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. Again, I'm not measuring this. I'm not going for exactness. I'm just putting some holes in. I'm not worried about anything being even. I mean, I got the guideline on there, so it'll be even to a fault. But I'm not going for exactness on these whatsoever. I'm just eyeballing it and then hitting it on the line. All right, so here we go. All the dust off. There's just some vent holes. Pull some air through out the top from the fan. So pretty much right now I got one more hole to sink. I'm gonna do that up here. You see this corner's all, I don't know if you can see it here, but that corner's all jacked up. And that was just shit. Some MDF that chipped off and whatnot. So I'm gonna put one more hole up in the top corner, and that'll be my on-off switch from behind. So we'll do that right now. Get that done. And then lastly, what I'm going to do is I will probably end up mounting this to the bench. So I'm going to put a screw here through the bottom, at least one, but I'm going to drill a hole right now. Probably just one. I mean, it's not like it's going to be used and abused, so I'll put a hole right here in the bottom.